All right, welcome. So these are going to be the videos that will step you through how to use Google Docs in order to create a resume from scratch. It's really important for this class that you do not use a template, that you actually create this from a blank document. As I've mentioned in class, the templates that they offer for resumes really have a lot of problems. They usually have things that you just don't need or will get in the way of the computer readers. Like they'll add images, don't have a photo on your resume. They'll add graphics, don't have graphics on your resume. They just cause problems with the formatting. It's unnecessary. You might look at it and think, oh, that looks so professional, but you don't want things that distract from the information. So don't use any of the templates. Start with that blank document. And that's what this lab is all about, is how to go into Google Docs and how to take that blank document and create a good, simple resume format. And simple in this case is good, not only because it's easy to use and easy to create your resume, but as I've mentioned in class, they scan resumes into computers that will then scan for keywords and phrases and then decide who passes the test to get passed on to a real person to read the resume. So you need to make sure as you're creating your resume that a computer will find your information and not lose it or reformat it or not be able to figure out what your phrases are. And so a lot of those templates use things like columns for information. Really, truly don't use columns in your resume. People can figure out columns, but if a computer goes from left to right and just reads across the page and doesn't recognize that there are separate columns in your resume, it can mess up the flow of your sentences. It can change some of those key phrases, and the computer might not recognize that you are qualified for the job. So you might never have an opportunity to have your resume looked at by a real person. So really important that you start with that blank document. And that's what this lab is all about. So I know you got this far because you're looking at the video, and right here is, of course, where the videos are located. So I know you know that. But we're going to use for this video, we're going to use the written instructions in this Google Docs resume lab. And it's a PDF. You just click on it. And you can either just keep it inside Canvas and read it that way, or you can always click on this little downward arrow and download it to your computer and then open it up from wherever you save it. So this is the document that we're going to be using, and this particular video is an introduction to how to use this file. So this is the lab for creating resumes specifically with Google Docs. So if you're using Microsoft, you're in the wrong video. You need to switch over to Microsoft Word's video, not Google Docs. So this is all about Google. So the first thing I want to show you is really how this lab is set up. And you're going to use this same format for when we eventually get to using Google Slides for your presentation. So it is important that you understand how to read this lab. So I've got a table of contents up here at the top. It just tells you, what the topic is, what page to find it on. The resume lab isn't that long. Once we get to Google Slides, it gets much longer, but there's an easy way to read through this so that you're not overwhelmed. So you can use the format to give you as much or as little information as you want. So this particular video is just to show you how to use it. So table of contents at the top. If you want to refresh your memory, like months from now, you're building another resume and you don't remember how to center, you just look here, it says centering your first line, so you just go to page 3. So that's how you use the table of contents. So here's the basic structure. I have important notes at the top. We're going to go over how to use the undo and redo button, and then also this painting button. Really important. We'll come back to that. But this is just some notes that talk about how to use those buttons. Then are the steps of the lab. So each step is labeled with a number 1 through, I think it's 17 steps for this resume. Then this block right here, this is the instructions block. This is the what you're supposed to do. Anytime you are supposed to click on something, I provide either what the button looks like, or I will put the name of the button in bold. So you don't even have to read everything here. You can just look for the little picture or the bold, and that tells you what I want you to click on. If you want that extra information about what you're doing, then go ahead and read everything. But that's just a quick way of telling you this is what you need to do, and you don't actually have to read everything. This section over here, the rectangles off on the right side, these are the results and the more information about what I want you to do. So if you follow these steps, this is what you will see. Or some additional information about what you're seeing, why you're doing it the way you're doing it, maybe some information on common mistakes. You don't ever have to read this column at all if you don't want to. You can go through the whole lab just looking for the bold and the buttons and seeing what it is you're supposed to do. But if you want that information about what you're doing, why you're doing it, what you're seeing, why that's what you're seeing, then that's when you want to read this right-hand side. And again, if you click on something over here and there's a picture over on this side, this just shows when you click this button, this is what pops up. So that's how to read these steps. Step number, what you're supposed to do, and then what the expected results are or any additional notes. So here's step 2. And again, this is in bold. So you're going to click on the words untitled document. I tell you exactly what it is you need to do. Type this, press enter. When you press enter, this is going to change the name of your document. So that's how you use this. And then I have another section here, set your margins and line spacing. And this particular section title, if we scroll back up to the top, see how it says set your margins and line spacing? Page 2, that's what each of these headers are for. It's these little blue headers for each section telling you that now we're going to move on and do this particular skill. If you're using the written lab and you ever get lost, that's what these videos are for. You can either use the videos to go straight from the beginning through the end and never even read the labs, but I'm letting you know that what these videos are doing is just moving straight down these labs. In the videos, I'll tell you exactly what step we're on, and I will talk about what you're going to do. I'll show you how to do it, where to find those buttons, whether you're left clicking or right clicking. What the results are. I'll show you what the results are. We'll talk about some of the common mistakes you might make, but that is exactly what we're doing. We're just going down through this lab, and that's how we're going to do the videos, and that's how you're going to create your resume. All right, so back up to the top. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly open up a Google Doc. I'm not going to show you the steps on opening it and naming it and all of that right now because that's in steps 1 and 2. So I'm just going to show you right now how to use the undo button and the redo button. Don't worry yet that I have not shown you how to open Google Docs. We'll get there in a second. Right now it's just about showing you these functions. Okay, so here is a document. I've pulled in some resume bullets so that we can play around with them. The first thing I'm going to show you is how to use the undo and redo buttons. So let's say I'm working on this resume and I decide I don't want blue, I want purple. All right, so I highlight those words and then I come up here and I change it to purple and I click off of it and I look at it, I'm like, no, that's a little too close to black, especially in some prints. So I don't like that. You don't have to come back up here and go through the process of highlighting this and changing the color again this way. You can just go back and go to the way it was one step ago. So one step was turning it purple. I don't like it. Just come up here. If you hover over this button, it says undo. That's how you know you're on the right one. And you just click it, a quick left click. Boom, undone. So you're back to blue, no problem. But now I'm comparing it. I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe I do want purple. Again, you do not have to highlight it and come up and change it. You can go, okay, we're going to go forward one step again. Yep, okay, I'm good with the purple. So that's how you use the undo. You just sit here and you go, yep, back to blue, up to purple. It's also a good tool to use when you want to just test out a formatting, see if you like it. You can make the change and then go back and forth until you decide which version you want to keep. So let's say that I do like the purple. All right, so I'm going to keep the purple. Well, now I've got these other headers. In a real resume, you've got a bunch of sections and you want all of the formatting to be the same. You're not going to have headers that are different from each other. You're not going to have one header that uses just a capital letter on the first letter and not the rest of the word, and then another one where everything is completely in capitals. Whatever format you use for one header, you're going to use that exact same format for every other header. We don't want purple for education and blue for professional certifications. So the quick way to go ahead and change this formatting from blue to purple is, if we've already done one change, you can now use what's known as the format painter. And that's a really quick way, especially if we've done a lot of things. All right, so this is already bold. So let's go ahead and add an underline. We're going to add an underline to all of our headers. Well, now we've made a couple of changes. We've done purple and we've underlined. That's the change that was made here that hasn't been made here yet. If you were going to make this change to every header, normally you'd have to go and you'd have to highlight each individual header, click on underline, change the color to purple, but there's a faster way to do it, and the paint button is the faster way. To use this paint button, you can either highlight the item that has the formatting you like, and the way you highlight is you left click and hold, drag it across the item, and then once you are at the end with your mouse, you just let go with your finger and you let go of that button. Now this whole word is highlighted. So we've highlighted this word. It has the formatting we like. That's the first step. The second step is come over to the paint formatting button and click it. Now we have selected all the formatting of that word. And see how my cursor has now changed to a line with a paintbrush next to it? That's how we know it has picked up that formatting and is ready to apply it to our new set of words. So we come down here to our header that we're going to change to purple and underlined. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select both words by left clicking and holding right in front of the first word. So I'm now left click and hold. I'm going to drag my mouse across both words. And now I'm going to let go with my mouse. And that format that we picked up from education has now been applied to professional certifications. If I had more headers that I wanted to do that same thing to, let me just make another header. And I don't even have to bold it or put it in the center. Let's just say we've got a new header and we're going to apply this formatting. We can't just click on this again and expect that the format is going to apply. You have to go through all three steps each time. So we've made that change. I'm going to click inside professional certifications. As I said when we started, you can either highlight the whole thing or just click somewhere inside one of the words that has the formatting you want, and that'll be enough to pick up that formatting. Okay, so I've clicked inside the word, cursor is blinking in the middle of certifications. Come over, click on the paint format button. If I highlight the word header, okay, in Word it'll center it for you. Unfortunately, in Google, it does not. So it picked up all the formatting. It made it bold. It made it purple. It underlined it. But I guess in Google, we are going to have to actually tell it that it needs to be centered. So if you don't see all of the buttons across the top, just click on this button right here, which is the three dots on top of each other. Click on more and it'll show you all of the buttons that are not currently visible. So in this video, as I'm going through it, if I ever click on a button that you don't see, just click on the more button, these three dots, click on more and see if that button is here. And what we're looking for is center. And I will show you this later, but this is where center is. And we just center that header. And you just keep doing it every time. So again, the first step, click on what you like, click on the Format Painter button, and then highlight whatever you want. Let's just say we're going to do this. Normally I would not, but see how that works right there. Now this time it did center. I don't know why it didn't before, but if it doesn't, you know that you can center it. And now I don't want that to be a header, so I'm going to hit undo, and it goes back to the way it was. So that's how to use the Format Painter and the undo and the redo buttons. Those are going to be incredibly helpful to you, not just with resumes, but with anything you do in Google. Microsoft works the same way. The paintbrush just looks like the regular handheld with bristles type brush, but they are both paintbrushes in Google and Word, and they do exactly the same thing in exactly the same way. And that's it. Now you're ready to open Google Docs and start your resume.